Roy Hodgson, the England manager, has revealed his lineup for the World Cup squad today. Who's in and who's looking for a new job? Rhiannon Hughes has the highlights.
Good old Roy Hodgson has named the 23 men that will hold the nation's hopes of glory on their shoulders.
We are aware that in this particular group there are players who haven't played their 50-odd games, but I think also that the balance is still quite good. There are still enough players. I mean, for example, Glenn Johnson has put 50 caps, Cahill, Jagielka, Baines, Hart, Gerrard, Rooney. All of these people have got plenty of caps between them, so it would be wrong, I think, to focus totally on the fact that there are some out there who are young and are less experienced, because everyone's inexperienced until the time he gets the chance to show he can do the job.
But poor old Ashley Cole, according to Roy, he's too old to play for England. The Chelsea player let the cat out of the bag last night about his plans to retire from international football after being dropped by the manager. Fear not, we have found some alternative careers for him. There could be an opening in the Mayor's office. If Boris runs for Prime Minister, they'll need another blue to take over. We don't want his fancy footwork to go to waste, so he could always be a backing dancer for his former wife, Cheryl Cole. She's got a bit of history in that respect. Alternatively, if they do rekindle their romance, any little baby on the way could finally bring Eurovision home to the UK.
What I liked about Ashley Cole's tweet is that when he announced that the younger players were taking over, he used those little emoticon pictures. I thought that was quite cute. Well done you, Ashley. And you can spell and everything. Brilliant. Now, what were the main surprises for you?
Well, I mean, the main surprise really was Cole's omission, and that came out last night. So when we got the squad today, it was, I guess, more of an emphasis on youth than maybe we expected. He's gone for kind of a younger squad selection by and large. If you look at the standby list, for example, Michael Carrick, Andy Carroll, kind of players who've been in and around the team for a number of years, were not selected in the main 23. And he's gone for people like Raheem Sterling and Adam Lallana and Jordan Henderson and Luke Shaw, left back, these kind of guys who've maybe only played a handful of games for England and have virtually no tournament experience. So it's going to be a very young, very almost experimental side in tournament terms that competes in the World Cup.
Yeah, is it really the time to be experimenting? Well,
I think although I don't think Roy can really say it, I think there is an acceptance that we're not going to win this competition.
Shock news, you heard it here first.
I think that, you know, England have gone to World Cups for years and years and years and thought, yes, golden generation, everything that's been said about Lampard and Gerrard and Rooney obviously are all still in the squad, but were particularly the previous two, they were at the peak back then, and you know, we've got a genuine chance of winning it. Nobody's saying that this time. We're saying, look, let's go there, let's have a crack at it. The expectations off, and let's try and bring in some youngsters and build towards maybe 2016 or 2018, the next World Cup in Russia.
Interesting strategy. We're not going to win, so let's just see what happens. I quite like it, actually.
Well, I do think it's refreshing, and I think for a lot of football fans it's quite exciting because it's the first time that you've not had, you know, Cole, Terry, Fern, these kind of mainstays that have been associated with failure and synonymous with so many disappointments. And I think people look at that and go, OK, we've got a lot of kind of unproven, untested kids here.
Could be a fresh start.
You know, Ross Barkley, people like that who've had great Premier League seasons, who could come in and maybe take it onto the international stage.
But don't you think there's an element of ageism? Because, I mean, Teddy Sheringham played till he was 40, and he's a fantastic player. So, excuse me, to rule Cole out and say, well, look, he's not good enough, and he's 33, I mean, it's more or less kind of lowering the age. I mean, you know, he brought Luke Shaw in, who's 18, but Luke's only had, like, what, one or two... He played, like,
Luke's played 45 minutes for England, that's it. I mean, personally, if it was my decision, I'd have taken Ashley Cole, because I think he can still do a job at the highest level, and I think certainly if you're going to play Leighton Baines as your first-choice left-back, there's no better deputy to come in. But from what Roy was saying today, because I went to that briefing up in Luton, he was kind of intimating that Ashley Cole was saying, I'm first choice or I'm nothing. So you either take me and you play me every game, or I don't want to go.
Yeah, but then to put someone, as you say, who's only played for 45 minutes is worrying. It's like, look, get him to play for, say, a friendly or something, but this is the World Cup. Well, it's make or break.
It's, you know, this is where kind of the idea of, do you take young kids and build for the future, or do you actually have a crack at the tournament? This is where it meets its sort of most sort of friction, I think, with Cole or Shaw.
Do you think Roy's copied the German rule book? And because obviously Germany did this a couple of years ago, and they got rid of their sort of old squad, and they've got like a young squad now. So
how did that work out for them?
They did actually well, didn't they?
Well, they did. I mean, they hammered us in the last World Cup 4-1 with a very young side, and the year before that, in 2009, I think 6 or 7 of that squad had won at under 21 level. So they were saying, well, let's promote them, let's build them. And now, I mean, they're probably, along with Spain and Brazil, Germany are right up there as among the favourites for this tournament.
Now, you're actually going to Brazil, of course. What are your top tips for any fans planning a trip out there? Will the hotels be built yet?
I think the hotels will be built, yeah. I'm not entirely sure about the stadiums. I mean, I've been to a couple of these tournaments now, and they're very kind of sanitised versions of what the cities are actually like. So there'll be a lot of scare stories in the next sort of few weeks about security and everything else. And obviously, it's like anything really. As long as you're sensible and you watch your back, you'll be fine. But it's not going to be, you know, you walk down the street and somebody will be holding a gun to your head. It's not.
No, but I heard that the police are a bit heavy-handed. That they're, you know, if something goes wrong, they're not going to, you know, be polite and say, "Okay, sir, on your way." It's like either you're put in a cell, or I'm not putting this on record saying that, you know, the Brazilian police are, like, you know, crazy.
No, you're definitely not saying that. No, he's not saying that.
I'm not saying that.
But there were a lot of those kind of stories before South Africa 4 years ago. And I mean, you know, the police are very officious in South Africa. I mean, I went technically what you're supposed to do in South Africa, if you're driving, there's a stop sign, you have to stop at every single stop sign, even if there's nobody around. So I didn't do that, and I went not through at 30 miles an hour, like 10, 15. And of course, there was a police car around the corner, pulled me over, and it was only because he
broke the law.
It was only because he was supporting the England team, because this was out in Rustenburg, which is where the England team were based, that he let me off. Otherwise, I could have been arrested.
Well, like anywhere, if you go somewhere and you're sensible and you don't do anything ridiculous, then you'll probably be fine. And that is my sage travel advice.